Yo, this a motherfucking war zone.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gregory. Today we're going to be talking about some things you can do to lower your ping inside of Call of Duty Mobile and honestly any other mobile apps that you're having ping issues with, whether it's ping spikes, just high ping in general. I know this stuff sucks and that's why I'm making this video. So let's talk about some things that you can do to lower your ping. Now, before we get into the router, which is basically what actually sends, I guess, the signal to your device, and then that transfers that signal from the server back to you and you to the server, let's just talk about some little things that you can do on your device, such as an app, which is what we're going to start with. Now, there are a lot of apps out there that can actually stabilize your ping. You might not even know about them. Now, I'm going to recommend the best one that I've ever used. Now, there is like a paid version of this app, but I believe there's a free trial. I don't know. I haven't used it in a long time. This was back at my old house when my ping was kind of spiky and the internet was not the best. I used to use this app. So it's called 1.1.1, but it's basically a bunch of ones, and it's actually a pretty popular app. So this app, basically, it's like a VPN that you can connect to, but it's not a VPN like, you know, to basically reroute your connection. It's actually a VPN to stabilize your ping and your overall internet in general. So you can try this app, see if it works. It has really good reviews and I've had a good experience with it. And if it just doesn't work for you for whatever reason, or if you don't want to like pay for the premium version, I'm pretty sure you can get it free as well. You can actually just look up, like I said, ping stabilizer, or you can look up game booster. There's this one I actually used to use as well. It's spelled B-I-U Game Booster. So look that up on your device. It also has really good reviews. And when I used it, which was, I want to say when Call of Duty Mobile first came out, because I was playing on a different server, so I wanted to make sure I stabilized my connection, it was really good. So yeah, I would try this app out if you don't want to use the other one, which is like 1.1.1.1. So yeah, try this one out. Otherwise, let's get into the next tip. So this next tip is actually just a check. We're going to go on speedtest.net, which is a website, and then run a test on your internet. You basically just click go and it'll tell you what your speed is. Now look at your ping, okay? Look at the ping that it tells you. You might want to run this test like 2 or 3 times just to make sure the number it gives you is accurate and it wasn't like some kind of ping spike you got at the exact moment you ran the test. But basically you look at that number and you say, okay, is that ping about the same ping that I'm getting in my game? And if it's not, then, or if it's like higher number, because it won't be a lower number, like the number that you're getting in your game won't be a lower number than the ping you get on speedtest.net, but there's a chance that the ping you're getting in your game is going to be higher than the ping it shows like from your real internet, which is measured on, like, you know, the website speedtest.net. And if that is the case, where for whatever reason your like internet is like actually a lower ping than it's showing on your game, then you're gonna have some issues with your router. And when I say router, I mean specifically your router is having trouble connecting to the game's servers for whatever reason. It could be the router's fault, it could be a combination of the servers being bad and your router, or it could be purely the servers. But if it is the servers, then everybody would be experiencing that. But obviously if everyone was experiencing it, there's nothing you could do, and obviously, you know, the developers would be working on it. So we're gonna assume that it's something that has to do with your router and the router transferring that connection from your device obviously to the servers. So let's talk about that scenario. So let's talk about some things that you can do with your router, and this is like the majority of this video. This is kind of a little bit more complicated, and I think this needs to be talked about more. So there's 3 steps I would take to not really fix your router. I mean, there are some things you can do, but we'll talk about that in a second. So basically the first thing you want to do with your router, it's the most obvious, so I'm going to start with this. It's just to simply get closer to your router or have your router wired into your device. Now there are like adapters that you can like get basically an Ethernet cable from your router LAN port straight into your device, but you don't really need that. I don't use that. I don't think it's necessary. What you really want is just to have your router not too far away from your device. For example, my router is just right behind me. You can't really see it because my chair is covering it, but it's really close. So make sure your router is close to you. And another thing, if your router is on the other side of the house and there's just no way that you can like move your setup next to the router or wherever you play, or if you just don't want to move the router upstairs, you can actually use a second router to either create a whole new connection in another part of the house, which is actually what I have done. I have one router that I set up for my mom and my sister downstairs so they can get internet, and then I have another router that I set up upstairs in my room, and they both set off their own connections. Now, obviously, I don't want to use the downstairs one. That's horrible connection, so I'm using my own up here. So if you want to do that, you have an extra router laying around, or there's another alternative. If you don't want to buy another router, there's a much cheaper way to do it, and this is what's it's called an internet booster. It basically just plugs into the wall, and it takes the internet signal that it's receiving from the router, and it basically like repeats that signal. It basically strengthens it. So for example, let's say you're playing on one side of your house, but your router is on the other. You put an internet booster in the middle of your house, and it boosts that signal. So therefore, you're getting a stronger internet connection from your router, which is in turn increasing your ping, your download speed, your upload speed, a lot of useful things you want, of course. Here is something that I actually did do. Well, my dad did it, and this was at my old house. Okay, so this is gonna sound weird, but it works really well. I'm serious. So let's say you have your router on the other side of the house, all right? Instead of moving your router or getting another router or getting an internet like extender, you can do this for literally like 20 cents. You get a thick, I'm not talking about tinfoil, I'm talking about a thick metal sheet, and you put it on the opposite side of the router to where you are. That will basically reflect the internet, if you will, to wherever you're trying to extend the connection to. Basically, it'll reflect the connection. Okay, let's just say that. Reflect the connection of your router off the metal sheet. Like, it needs to be like that thick. You get like a thick metal sheet, put it on the opposite side of your router, and it works really well. We did this at my old house. My dad put a sheet behind the router on like the wall of the house, and nobody was on the other side of the sheet, and it just shot the connection of the router super far. Like, you can get connection from like the neighbor's house really good because we had such a thick metal sheet. It basically just took that connection and it kind of like doubled it, because it cut the connection that was going this way and it sent that all this way because of that giant metal sheet. So that's something that you can do if you don't want to like move your router, you know, like I said, all those other things. Okay, so let's say this is not working. You're right next to your router, but you're still getting high ping, you're still getting ping spikes or lagging or whatever. This is the next thing you need to do. This next tip is just getting a newer router. Okay, now pay close attention, because I know some people are like, oh, my router was really expensive when I bought it. I'm gonna give you guys a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So I've been playing Wild Rift, right? It's League of Legends mobile game. Basically, the game's pretty new, okay? So I have this router. Well, I don't use it anymore, and I'll tell you why. This was one of the top tier routers. We're talking like over $100 router, like 6 or 7 years ago, okay? It works for Call of Duty Mobile. It works for literally everything. It's great. But when I try to play Wild Rift under the connection of that expensive old router, I get ping spikes quite a bit. Like, I'm talking like maybe every 5 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, my ping is like 8 to 9 ms for Wild Rift, which is like really good. But yeah, it's because it's an old router. That's really all it is. So let me give you guys that example, the other part of that example. Okay, so you know how I said I have a second router in this house earlier in the video? That second router was a free router that the internet company provides for us. I actually went and looked it up. It's actually like $8 on eBay, the router that the ISP provides for free, like for their customers. $8, and it gets the job done. It runs Wild Rift with no ping spikes, Call of Duty Mobile with no ping spikes, and lets me stream, do everything I need on my computer, no ping spikes. But like I said, with that old router, it does most things pretty well, because I mean, things like, you know, using the computer and playing Call of Duty Mobile, which is an older mobile game in comparison to Wild Rift, they don't have like much optimization needed for a router. But for a new game that just comes out, there's still a lot of optimization happening, and newer routers are going to be the ones that can run it better. And that's why a new cheap router can actually run Wild Rift way better than my old expensive router. This is just a specific example. It doesn't necessarily mean that a new router is only useful for getting a new game to run. No, it really applies for all games, even old ones. A new router is just going to be more functional and overall better for your connection, pretty much in all scenarios. So in my case, I actually just swapped the two routers. I put the router that works for pretty much everything else downstairs, you know, the old one that's really expensive, and then the one that was newer but cheap, I just brought it upstairs. And it works fine. This is honestly like the same thing for phones. Like, I mean, you guys know this. A new medium quality phone is gonna be a lot better than a super expensive, like 6-7 year old phone. I mean, you guys know this stuff. It's the same thing with routers. So yeah, that would be my final tip, is just to get a new router, but get a cheap new one, and that will probably fix your ping spikes. Okay, so now the last tip this is not really a tip, but this is kind of a harsh reality that I actually had to face. And this is one of two things. Let's talk about the one first, which is you're hoping for this one. You're hoping this is the case and not the second one. This is that your speeds or your overall connection, you might be paying for a plan that's just not expensive enough for what you're trying to do. So like maybe your ping is okay, but maybe your download speed kind of sucks because maybe you just have a cheaper plan, or maybe your family is always watching TV, or maybe somebody's always playing a game in the other room while you're trying to play. This is going to cause you lag. It might not cause you like low or high ping. It might do that too, but it's going to cause you a lot of lag spikes and just lag in general. And in this case, either you can try to play when your family's not using other devices and using up the bandwidth of your internet, or you can face the harsh reality and just upgrade the plan of your internet to get a higher speed. And I actually did have to do this for the new house. I think originally I was getting around 10 download speed and 10 upload speed because we have fiber, so it's the same number on both download and upload. But that was not fast enough for me. I mean, as a streamer, right, and YouTuber, I'm trying to get faster upload speeds specifically, and download is important too, trying to download files, send them to my editor, that kind of thing. So we upgraded, and now I have about 50 download, 50 upload, and my ping's about 8, 9, 10 in that area. So that's the first harsh reality, and you want that one. That's a lot cheaper, or a lot more I guess available than the second option, which is you just need a new ISP, which is something I wish I had the option to do at my old house, my old house. I know, been moving a lot. Well, not recently, but yeah, basically this is just get a new ISP, which if you don't know, it's internet service provider. So for example, we had Xfinity and it was trash. Like it was it was not consistent. It was good. Like the internet was good, but it was really inconsistent. So like when it was working really good. I was getting good connection, everything was good, I'd be streaming, it was perfect. But yeah, it was so inconsistent. Every once in a while, just everything go out, internet's crap, nothing works. It'd be like whole like 5-10 minutes this will happen, and then you know it'll go on for maybe like 10 hours, 11 hours, everything works fine, and then boom, another like period of just like everything goes out. It was horrible. So yeah, if that's happening and you're getting ping spikes because of that, you just need a new internet service provider. Now this is why this, like being in this scenario kind of sucks, is because sometimes where you live, there's only one internet service provider. Like for example, at my old house, which luckily it was a good internet service provider, there was only one that we could choose from. Like we only had one company that would provide internet. Where I'm living now, I actually have like 3 different options, but I like the internet we have now, so I'm not thinking about switching. So sometimes you do kind of get unlucky. Maybe you're living out somewhere that's, you know, kind of remote. There's probably not going to be more than 2 internet service providers, and maybe there's only one. And if you're in that scenario and your internet provider sucks, man, you're kind of out of options, dude. But I mean, you can always do these other little things to improve the connection that you do have. But that is a very rare case where your internet provider just sucks and that's the only option you have, and you're also doing everything you can to possibly make your internet faster on your end. But sometimes it's just out of your hands. Fortunately, that is very rare though. Okay, so that is it for the solutions in today's video. But just note that these are kind of scratching the surface. There are some deeper, more complex things that you can do to overall just improve your ping, your connection, everything internet related in general. So yeah, if you want to see more stuff, let me know. But I kind of wanted to just start it with stuff that was easy to understand. It was more practical. But if you guys are serious about like internet, improving your connection, getting better ping so you can overall just improve your performance with literally just internet, then I mean, let me know and I can do another video on this. I just will have more complex solutions that'll take a little bit more thought and stuff to actually execute. So just leave a comment about that if you are curious about this kind of stuff. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully this video helped. It really should. If you did everything, or at least you tried everything in order, you'll probably find a solution along the line there. You really have to by the time you get to the point of, you know, getting a new ISP or router. There's really nothing you can do after that, unless of course you're in that one scenario that I talked about. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed once again, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.
We'll be right back.